Thank you. Just really want to say thank you to Heartland. For me, for years, I've been huge fans of Heartland and Heritage and Craig Idso and all the other speakers today. So for me to be up here presenting is just, wow, it really is a dream come true. So thank you for letting me do that. I think as I tell my story, you'll understand why I'm so passionate about the others that are here today and what you all as a group are doing. Because to be honest, I shouldn't be here. And I told somebody other than funerals and weddings, I haven't worn a tie for like 5 years prior to June 2nd. And the reason is because this isn't what I wanted to do. I'm an electrical engineer by training. First year of college, like all college students, I needed money. What do? Well, we see where we can get the easiest job so I could have money. My grandparents were coal miners. My dad was a coal miner. My uncles, my older brother, friends, neighbors were coal miners. So what did I do? I went to work in the mines that first summer. What I found, though, was not only did they like it, but I liked it. And it was good money. It was really good money for in the early 90s to be making $15 an hour for a college student. That was just awesome. But more importantly, I really liked it. And so I went back for a second summer and a third summer, graduated, went to work full time. I've done a lot of the jobs underground, from the very basic manual labor to electrician to mechanic to operating equipment to management, and then gradually worked my way up like Fred said. And in 2009, we opened up what is now the largest room and pillar mine in the United States in West Kentucky. And did that until June of this year. Again, that's what I enjoy doing. I love being at the mines. And, I can't compete with Houston. Houston, this is an awesome town, especially after the Astros won. Here we are a couple of weeks later. Allen and Vegas cannot compete with Vegas. But I would love if one conference, we have it somewhere in the Illinois Basin, and you all can come take a tour of a coal mine. Because I tell people, there we go, thank you. Because one thing I tell everybody, and again, it's a lot of work, we're in small towns, but I've never taken anybody underground that didn't come back out and fully support coal. It is that life-changing of an experience. We love what we do, it's good money, it's good benefits, and so we'd love to offer that to you all. But I say that because earlier this year, I was at a point where I realized that to help my friends and family and neighbors, I had to be somewhere else other than the mine. Because what we had was coal plant after coal plant after coal plant shutting down. And so it became apparent earlier this year that our number one job was to preserve the coal fleet. So with that, just a quick overview of Alliance. We are the second largest producer of coal in the eastern United States. We are publicly traded. We're a master limited partnership. You can see where our mines are. We have mines in all 3 eastern districts or regions. Northern App right outside of Maryland and in Wheeling, Central App, and then most of our mines are there in the Illinois Basin. Here's what I referred to. So basically, 2011, we had 316 gigawatts of coal capacity. 54 gigawatts retired from 2012 to 2016. An additional 54 gigawatts are planned for retirement, and of that, 24 is scheduled this year through 2020. And on top of that, the bullet right below the bottom, to me, probably stands out more than anything, and that is the average age of our coal fleet today is 41 years. Now, before anybody gets offended, that's only old in coal plant age. So anybody older than that, that's not old in people years, Fred. We're still okay. That's just old in coal plant years. But when they get to about 50 years old, they really start to either need maintenance or they become less efficient. And to answer one of Bud's questions, do we see new coal plants being built today? No, we don't. We don't even see coal plants being upgraded today because as we stand here, you cannot do that. You can't build a new plant because the Clean Power Plan to try and put CCS on a plant takes about a third of the output. That is not an economic answer. And because of new source review, you really can't even upgrade a plant today. So that's something that we got to get fixed. So, and we'll talk about what I think are some of the policy holdups on coal. Because when it comes down to it, here's just another chart by year. Lets you see how the coal plants are retiring by year. Again, the big onslaught was MATS, the mercury rule. But here's why we do what we do. You know, I know, or at least on mine, the numbers are small. This is from Frank Clemente. To me, it always helps to start with, why do we have coal to begin with? You know, when you think on a big picture scale, how do we have cheap, plentiful, reliable energy? It has to be fossil fuels. I'll go into some reasons why I think coal is in the #1 position for that out of the fossil fuels. But for me, I always go to the yellow section. Life expectancy. If you live in a country where 90% of the country has electricity, your life expectancy is 76. Only 25% of your country has electricity, life expectancy 46. I mean, I love talking about jobs, and we can talk about coal jobs. And again, one of the hardest things I've ever done is to stand up in front of miners and tell them that the mine is shutting down, when those were my friends and family and neighbors, especially when it was because of the regulations and not because of the job they were doing. But this is so much bigger than that. I mean, for other parts of the world other than the United States, having electricity or not is the difference between living to be 46 and living to be 76. This is hugely important. Again, same thing with water, same thing with nutrition. Again, it's back to what some other people have said this morning. Energy is the fuel for all other industries. When energy is expensive, everything else is expensive. When energy is cheap, everything else is cheap. That's what fuels our water systems, our purification, irrigation, hospitals, air conditioning, cooling, etc. Energy is what helps us flourish as humans. Again, another way to view it, there's CO2, GDP per person, life expectancy, population. When we started using fossil fuels, everything else got better. Again, it's industry that fuels all other industries. Oh, I'll let you take the picture. Sorry, we good? All right, thank you. And again, back to, you know, we think, well, US, we already use a lot of we already use a lot of energy. We don't need any more energy. Well, one, I'd offer if energy was cheaper than it was today, we'd start doing really innovative things like desalination, like irrigating deserts. There's so many things we can do if we had cheap energy. But on top of that, don't lose sight that there's still 1 billion people, 1.2 in the world without electricity. So back to where does coal go from here? I would offer up that we still have an obligation to help the rest of the world live like we do. We have an obligation to help the world live to be 76, not 46. Again, if you add energy poverty, then that number goes up to 2.7. Energy poverty, traditionally defined as people who use open flames in their homes for heating and/or cooking. And again, back to the jobs. Fossil fuels, specifically coal, is crucial to what we do in the United States. When you think about manufacturing, electricity is our competitive advantage. We don't compete with Mexico and China and India on wages. We can't compete with them on environmental regulations. We can't compete on a lot of things. But electricity, we are the low-cost producer. That is our competitive advantage. And coal is uniquely positioned to provide the lowest cost electricity. What you see there is a chart that shows states by percent of electricity from coal compared with which states have the highest manufacturing. It's no coincidence the states with the highest coal percentage are also the states with the highest manufacturing. Manufacturing is important. That has the highest wages and the highest job multiplier. So, manufacturing, well, the next slide is a little bit out of place, but just to answer the one question, why coal? Again, because you have that question that kind of goes back and forth. Is it natural gas? Is it regulation? There are a couple of things I hope I'll leave you with. One is that coal can compete. We can compete. Here's a chart we put out earlier this year at one of our investor presentations. Again, we are a public company. If you can see the numbers, basically I think it's 250 is the bottom line right there. But basically we took every mine and we estimated what the cost per million BTU is at that mine. The little orange triangles those are Alliance mines. But if you can see, there's an enormous amount of tonnage that can compete at very, very, very low prices. And as a company, as an individual, we believe Americans and people of the world deserve the lowest cost energy. If that's coal, great. If it's something else, that's okay too. We deserve the lowest cost energy. And I want to leave you with, there's at least 200 million tons in the eastern U.S. that can compete at 250 million BTU. So as a coal industry, all we say is, let us compete. That's what we want to do. Now again, it's just a quote back to, can you create energy from other things? You can. That's the famous Jimmy Fallon quote, but it's expensive. And it's expensive at a time where we have 1 billion people that don't even have electricity. We are expensive at a time where California has 30% in poverty today. We need the cheapest, plentiful, reliable electricity possible. This is EPA train wreck. What I'd like to do real quick, before I'll tell you a couple of the policies that I think we need to change. One is what happened over the last 8 years. We kind of call it the circle of life. This is the train wreck. This is Obama administration, all the regulations they put on the coal industry. When they did that, it made electricity more expensive. Electricity more expensive, what did manufacturers do? They either reduced jobs or moved overseas. When the manufacturers moved or shut down, what happened? The fixed cost of the utilities, they had to spread it out over other customers. What happened to those other customers? Their electricity goes up. What happened? Then more people shut down. It's a domino effect. And not only did it affect industrial and manufacturing, it affected local and state governments. To give you an idea of the magnitude, every ton mined in the state of Kentucky, approximately $2.70 goes to local and the state tax jurisdiction. We believe we're the largest taxpayer in the state of Kentucky as Alliance. So you think about that, 5 million tons you lose, that's over $10 million, almost $15 million that state and local counties lost in tax revenue. So this is our circle of life: higher cost of electricity, decreased competitiveness for American manufacturing. You lose manufacturing, you have decreased electrical load, you lose tax revenue at state and local level. Utilities, the question Fred or Bud One mentioned, well, why, utilities don't care. You're right, they don't care, and they don't care because for the regulated ones. Think about this. Think if you had a job where the more money you spend, the more money you made. That's what the regulated utilities have. We can't build coal plants because of the Clean Power Plan. We can't really upgrade them. So the best way for them to spend money is what? Build a natural gas power plant. When they spend $1 billion, they just made a guaranteed 10% or $100 million. They want to build gas plants all day long. Problem is, who pays for that? The ratepayers. Rates go up. Electricity rates go up. Again, you just get higher cost of electricity and the circle of life continues. But there is a new hope. And that is that the people of America recognized what was going on in the country. You see the articles that dictated or kind of described how rural America is the new inner city. It's a Wall Street Journal article. The biggest difference in counties that voted for Romney and Trump were in rural manufacturing counties. So what happened? There we go. Trump wins. It was huge for our industry. There's the Paris Climate Agreement. We talked about that this morning. There was the energy independence. That's our CEO in the front row there, Joe Kraft. There's Joe again, Energy Week. Myself and Dan were actually in the audience at that one too. Joe believes, he's been doing this since the 70s, he believes this year's the first year he's ever been in the EPA office. Think about that. Second largest mining company in the eastern U.S. We couldn't even visit the EPA. There's a familiar face. We heard from him at lunch. We were there in Hazard with him as well. And those are some of the actions taken to date. There it is on a timeline. So I'm running out of time, but I'll tell you this. I'll leave you with this. One, the Trump administration has done amazing things. Pruitt, Zinke, Perry, unbelievable. And we're well on the way, but if you compare that to the first chart, we're not there yet. And let me just highlight two areas where we still have room to make improvements. Again, those are just the nominations. We'll skip that part. Back to, we just want the cheapest energy possible. And back to the DOE FERC and subsidies, absolutely. To answer Bud's question, we just want a level playing field. Our first goal would be to remove all subsidies. Let me kind of just point out what you're looking at. So this is EIA data from 2013. The red box is solar and wind tax credits, dollar for dollar tax credits, $11 billion. Put that into perspective. The entire revenue for the coal industry in 2015 was only $28 billion, and they're getting $11 billion in tax credits. They're not electricity generators, they're tax credit generators that just happen to put off a little bit of electricity. So why is electricity negative in Texas, Ohio? Why is it hard for coal to compete? It's because we're paying them, us being the federal taxpayers, $11 billion, plus they get the revenue from whatever electricity they might generate, and they're just producing a couple percent. Coal industry, $28 billion, we're over 30%. The PTC, ITC has to end for us to have a level playing field. There's also a new source review where we need to be able to upgrade plants. We need to be able to take advantage of the capital that's invested in the current coal fleet. So with that, I'll skip all the political slides because we're running out of time. A couple of resources that I love to use. A couple of slides earlier were from Alex Epstein. Most of you probably follow Alex. Also, America Coalition for Clean Coal Electricity. They're focused on preserving the coal fleet. But most importantly, my phone number, email, if there's anything I can do to help you or questions, love to be able to do that too. So Fred, thank you. Love to take questions.